5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning and welcome to the South Carolina Public Service Commission. We are here today on docket number 2025-253E. We are here today for oral arguments in this matter. Ms. Clausen, if you would explain where we are. In the hearing room is Commissioner Britt, Commissioner Caston, Commissioner Whitfield, and Vice Chair Williams. I am Chair Powers. Joining us virtually is Commissioner Henley. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, I'm on also, Belser.
There you are, and Commissioner Belser. So all commissioners are participating in this matter. If you would, Ms. Clausen, please explain where we are on this.
This is docket number 2025-253E, the application of TOCE SC Solar 1 LLC for a certificate of environmental compatibility and public convenience and necessity for the construction and operation of a 170 megawatt solar facility in Sumter County, South Carolina, pursuant to South Carolina Code Annotated 583310-EXEC. These are oral arguments on Sumter County's motion for ruling on admissibility of evidence and a request for expedited consideration.
Thank you very much. Before we start the arguments, I would ask we start with the applicant and let the parties introduce themselves for the record.
Yes, sir. Weston Adams and Robert Josie with Nelson Mullins on behalf of the applicant. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Sumter County.
Chairman, I'm Jonathan Bryan, Sumter County Attorney. This is Felton Ziegler, who's outside counsel.
Thank you very much. Office of Regulatory Staff.
Good morning, Chair Powers, Vice Chair Williams, and members of the Commission. Donna Rainey on behalf of Office of Regulatory Staff, and here today with me is Steve Rasmussen.
Thank you very much. All right. Are there any of the other statutory parties online here virtually? Hearing none, then we'll be ready to proceed.
Mr. Chairman,
Excuse
Mr.
me?
Chairman, this is Commissioner Belser.
Yes.
I know when we get to the oral arguments, I hope that the attorneys will get to the microphone. I couldn't hear Mr. Bryan when he introduced himself. But I know I saw him, but I'm just saying they need to speak into a microphone, please.
You're very correct. Thank you very much, Commissioner Belser.
Mr. Chairman, I intend to present our argument from the podium.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. All right. The motion is made by Sumter County. I guess you would be opening this up.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. Sumter County's purpose is straightforward, and that's to respectfully request that the Commission allow the use of drone video footage for the proposed solar farm site. The footage will graphically illustrate the testimony of witness Helen Rudman, the Sumter City County Planning Director. Ms. Rudman's testimony is part fact testimony and part opinion. The part of her testimony that's important for this hearing is the part about the facts. In her pre-filed testimony, she testified the size of the project, the nature of the land use and area, the amount of land to be fenced, and the specific topography of the area, which involves a number of steep slopes and creek bottoms. The drone footage will provide a clear, accurate, and comprehensive visual representation of her testimony concerning the project's scale, terrain, and topography, information that is essential to an informed decision. Sumter County has committed to provide a final version of the video with TOCE when completed, and if TOCE believes that there's anything that is inaccurate, misleading, or does not relate to the scale, terrain, or topography of the site or adjoining land uses, they can object to those aspects of the footage before Ms. Rubin begins her summary or cross-examine her on those points. First and foremost, the drone footage will show what Sumter County witness Helen Rubin testifies to in words and what TOCE has provided in the form of plans and drawings. The drone video will provide clarity that paper exhibits cannot match. Commissioners, you are routinely asked to evaluate complex energy infrastructure projects. These projects often span hundreds of acres, involve varied terrain, and carry long-term implications for land use, environmental impact, and grid reliability. Traditional exhibits, site plans, contour maps, still photographs are helpful, but they are inherently limited. They flatten three-dimensional reality into two-dimensional abstractions. They require interpretation, and they leave room for misunderstanding. Now, I'm holding for you to see part of the record. And these are 7 sheets of paper that show the places where the solar panels will be located on the site. These are 7 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper.
Okay, let me interrupt. Just are those in the record
Yes.
now in any form?
Yes, sir, they are. They are Exhibit 2 to the pre-filed testimony originally of TOCE witness Kelly Thames,
All right.
but adopted by TOCE witness Blair Wade on November 25th, 2025, titled Overall Site Layout and 10% Design Site Layout. So these are part of the record.
Do you want them to be part of the record of this hearing today?
Not necessarily. I just want you to see for your own eyes how these look.
Okay.
They're part of the record and can be obtained online, frankly, and you should have them, or will have them. These 7 pages show the planned location of the solar panel fields. These 7 pages are labeled C-300-01 through C-300-07. There are more pages in that exhibit, but these 7 pages are the only pages in the record that show the topography of the area. That is, these are the only pages in the record with contour lines. If you want to see the entire track at one time, you put these pages together, starting with C-300-01 in the top right-hand corner, and move to the left with 02 and 03, and then go down below and put the 04, 05, 06, and the 07 on the far right. And that's how you put those together with the match lines. And then you can see it all at one time. But frankly, these are hard to read. However, if you print these on larger format, and I have some examples of the same documents in larger format on the table in front of the council bench, they show the pictures 23 inches by 21 inches. And if you get your tape measure and using the scale on the map measure the site, then you'll see that the area to the west of Black River Road, the distance from the northernmost solar panel to the southernmost solar panel is 1.57 miles. Also, the distance from the western solar panel to the easternmost solar panel is 2.69 miles. If you were to make a rectangle out of that, it'd be 4.22 square miles. Then there's the solar field on the east side of Black River Road, which measures 0.53 miles from north to south and 0.48 miles from east to west. Altogether, it's about 4.5 square miles of terrain. And I invite you to consider that it's hard to envision 4.5 square miles of terrain from 7 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. Then there are the contour lines. Even with a magnifying glass on the larger format, the contour lines are not easy to read, but it appears that the highest point, which is on page C-300-05, is 410 feet. The low point on the maps appears to be on page C-300-07, which is 195 feet. Now, a difference of 215 feet variation in terrain is not tremendous, but it indicates that the land is not flat. and that fact will be easier to understand if you allow the drone video. Stated differently, the drone video will illustrate what Sumter County witness Helen Rubin explains in words. More specifically, it will show the actual slope of the terrain, the natural drainage patterns and bottomlands, the neighboring land use and properties, and the scale of the proposed solar array fields in relation to the surrounding landscape. This is not something outside of her pre-filed testimony. It's not departing from it in summary or prejudice. It's clarity, and clarity is central to the Commission's mission. Your charge under South Carolina law is to ensure that utility projects are in the public interest, balancing necessity, reliability, cost, environmental stewardship, and community impact. The drone footage will strengthen and clarify Sumter County witness Helen Rubin's testimony by reducing uncertainty about the physical characteristics of the site, supporting more accurate visual assessments of the size and scope of the site in light of the land and landscape, and providing a shared factual foundation for all parties, commissioners, staff, applicant, interveners, and the public. When everyone can see the same terrain from the same vantage point, disputes narrow. The conversation becomes more productive. Commission's findings become more defensible. As a second point, drone footage is now a standard responsible tool for infrastructure review. There's nothing subjective or distorting about drone footage. Across the country, regulatory bodies increasingly rely on aerial imagery and drone surveys for energy, transportation, and environmental projects. And the reasons are simple. Drones are safe. They're cost-effective. They minimize intrusion on the land. They provide high-resolution data with a clear vantage point that is hard to achieve otherwise. Allowing Sumter County Helen Rubin to use a drone video to illustrate her testimony aligns the Commission with modern best practices and enhances the quality of the record without imposing additional financial obligations on the Commission, its staff, ORS, or the other parties to the proceeding. As a third point, solar projects are land intensive. Consequently, understanding the landscape is essential. Solar farms are unique among energy resources in that their footprint is large and their interaction with the land is direct. The suitability of a site depends heavily on topography, soil stability, drainage, shading, access road and buffering, and visual impact. These are not theoretical considerations. They are physical realities that determine whether a solar project will perform as intended and whether it will coexist harmoniously with surrounding land uses. The drone video will allow Sumter County witness Helen Rubin to illustrate her testimony about these matters, allowing the Commission to see these realities as close as possible to firsthand, rather than relying solely on descriptions or interpretations in reports. As a fourth point, the drone video will support transparency and public confidence. The Commission's decision affects communities, landowners, and ratepayers. When the public can see that the Commission has reviewed clear, objective visual evidence, confidence in the process increases. The drone footage will show the public exactly what Sumter County witness Helen Rubin is speaking about and what the Commission sees. It will reduce speculation and misinformation. It will demonstrate that the Commission is evaluating the project with the best available tools. Transparency is not just a procedural value, it is a public good. As a fifth point, allowing the drone footage will not prejudice the merits of the project. The drone footage is an objective visual record. It is not about advocating for or against the solar farm itself. It is about ensuring that the Commission has the fullest, most accurate record possible. The drone video will simply be evidence, no different in purpose than a site visit, a map, or an engineering report. It will not bias the Commission. Instead, it will inform the Commission. As a sixth point, the idea of augmenting testimony with visual displays is not new to the Commission. In the past, the Commission has allowed the testimony of witnesses to be augmented with visual displays, including a slideshow, that were not part of the pre-filed testimony. We understand there have been other cases involving drone video, where in summarizing pre-filed testimony, witnesses have been allowed to use drone footage and still photographs to illustrate visually points that they discussed orally. This better enables the Commission to understand the testimony of the witness. As a final conclusory point, the drone video will help the Commission to do its job better. Commissioners, your decisions shape South Carolina's energy future. You're tasked with balancing innovation, reliability, environmental responsibility, and economic development. That's a complex responsibility, and it deserves the best information available. Drone video enhances clarity, reduces uncertainty, strengthens the evidentiary record, supports transparency, and helps ensure your decision, whatever it may be, is grounded in a complete understanding of the land itself. A picture's worth 1,000 words, and a moving picture is better than a still shot. For these reasons, Sumter County respectfully requests that the Commission allow the use of the drone video for the solar farm site. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Commissioners may have some questions. If you would stay there just a second.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bryan.
Yes, sir.
And as my mama would say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. My problem, and I think the commission's problem, is how can we rule on something that doesn't exist? We understand there's costs. We also understand your sheriff's office probably has drones. Your county council may have drones. Most of them do. I just don't. The rules of evidence are pretty clear on this. Right. They really are. And it feels like a stall technique to me.
Well, we're hoping to get this done back in January.
Okay,
but,
I mean, you understand that the Inflation Reduction Act runs out at the end of next year, and any project that's not on board it will not get the government subsidy that's been put out there.
We're not trying to stall the evidentiary hearings that are planned for the 25th and 26th. Let me just express to you that the Sumter County administrator takes responsibility, his fiduciary obligations with regard to the taxpayers' dollars.
Sure.
And his direction to me was, don't spend the money unless you can get permission to get it done and get it used. So that's why it hasn't been done yet.
Well,
I'm just telling you.
But you're familiar with the rules of evidence.
I am.
And I'm sure Mr.
so
Ziegler is.
It's going to be hard to rule today on something that you haven't seen. But if you're willing to at least acknowledge that there's an opportunity, that you're willing to look at it maybe on the 25th and rule then.
Mr. Chair.
Then we can get it, possibly get it done.
Vice Chair.
Attorney, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Attorney Bryan. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
I appreciate your presentation and both parties being here for oral arguments because I definitely wanted to hear what you all have to say. You and your legal team are seasoned practitioners of the law and don't need any course in trial practice or the rules of evidence. With that foundation, my question is, other than the concern of your county administrator, do you or your legal team have any concern that the commission may have issue with admitting the drone video at some point during the hearing, if and when you would decide to produce it and attempt to admit it in the evidence? Is there some concern that it would not get admitted?
Well, there is some concern because obviously it hasn't been prepared yet. And so we don't know how it's going to look. But what we're really looking for is some acknowledgement that if we get it done, you'll at least look at it and then determine whether it's admissible. And that's as much as we can ask, quite frankly.
Could I add one thing to that?
Yes, sir, please.
In an ordinary case, this issue, in a civil case, I don't think this would come up. But the commission tends to operate under a pre-file testimony rule. And what we'd be offering is a video that would illustrate what's already in pre-file testimony. If the commission's sense is, no, we're not going to allow that under any circumstances, whether it's fair or unfair, whether there's any evidentiary problem with the video or not, if we know that in advance, we won't create the video. But I think the county understands that if there is some evidentiary issue other than the fact that it's coming in as part of a summary and as a graphic illustration of the summary, that's an issue that's open for a motion to to strike or to exclude or for any other motion. And our commitment is to share that video as soon as it's produced with the other side so they can decide whether they want to raise a specific evidentiary objection to it. Our only thought is that if the commissioners say, no, we're not going to allow this because it wasn't part of the original pre-filed testimony, then we need to know that in advance. We won't create the video.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. And the reason I was asking the concern, I just hope that the commission is not operating in a way where parties feel like we will summarily or conclusory just refuse to admit evidence without going through an evidentiary analysis. That was my concern. But thank you for sharing your concerns. Thank you.
Chair Powell.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Whitfield. Or Mr. Caston, you want to go?
I was just going to elaborate. First of all, thank you. You answered my question. Has it been created yet? And I think the answer is no.
You're correct.
And I guess along the lines of what Vice Chair said, at least in my experience being on this commission, there's been multiple times when there's been not necessarily a late file exhibit, but there have been things introduced that the commission considered through the course of the process. So I do have similar concerns about ruling on things that don't exist. But I'll yield and hear what Commissioner Whitfield has.
Thank you, Commissioner Caston. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bryan, certainly appreciate your points that you just made. Well, I'm typically one that is a very visual person and likes to see things visually. However, you hit right on my background. I'm a geography major, whether you know that or not. So I could visually visualize everything you were saying in terms of distance, size, elevation, contour, all of those things. You did describe that very well. I guess I got a couple of questions for you just a tad further. Bring me up to speed because I'm just back on here just about a week and a half. Is your administrator still Mr. Mixon?
He is. Yes, sir.
Okay. Next question. How much are you estimating the cost to be? I think some of the other commissioners had stated it's assumed that your Sheriff's Department, County Council, and maybe other Sumter County departments may have access to that type of equipment. What would you, or is he or you estimating the cost to produce this to be?
The commercial drone operator we've engaged for this assignment is estimated the cost to be between $6,000 and $8,000.
So that's someone outside.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's new information. I had not seen.
Someone who does this as a profession.
Okay. And lastly, I would say to you, of course, we haven't heard from the other side. Lastly, I would say to you, we're getting back to a legal question that my fellow colleagues have stated. You're asking us to admit something that doesn't yet exist. So I'll stop right there and listen to what else is said. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Well, just a point of clarification.
Okay.
After listening to the presentation, that may be. I just want to make sure we know what we're talking about here. I feel like that's what we think, or that's what was thought based on the filing, but I'm not sure that is what is being said at the moment. Am I right, Mr. Ziegler?
I think to say it as succinctly as we can, we're not asking for a ruling as a matter of evidence that there's nothing objectionable or any reason why this drone footage should not be excluded. That's wide open. But as a matter of practice, this is something that would be used to illustrate a summary of testimony that's already in the record. And our only concern, the only thing we're asking the commission to say is that we believe to use drone footage as a summary of of what's already been testified to is appropriate. However, if there's any evidentiary problem with it, if it's inaccurate, if it isn't tied to the testimony that's already been given, if it's not showing topography, if it's not showing size, if it's not showing location, if it's not showing adjoining land uses, then certainly it could be stricken, and we would certainly understand that that TOC would not be losing the right to raise that question when the summary was presented. If there was something distortional about it, if there was something inaccurate, that would be something that they could raise. Our plan is to have the witness be present while the footage is shot, so that she can authenticate it if there's any question. But if there's any evidentiary defect, we understand TOC would have every right to raise it. So we're not asking it to be introduced in advance. We're only asking for a ruling that the fact that it is coming in as an illustration to pre-file testimony that's already in the record is not an obstacle for it being considered as potential evidence in the case. I hope that's clear. I'll be happy to go further if I can.
It's clear to me now. I can't speak for my colleagues, and quite frankly, it's clear to me now. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Britt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And like the chairman said, and Commissioner Whitfield too, like the chairman's mother, picture's worth 1,000 words, and a video is even better. And even better than that is a site visit. And in the last 7 months, we've had 3 drone videos introduced in cases that it's appeared before us. And all 3 have been extremely helpful. And in at least 2 of the cases, I made a request of the chairman and our executive director, Ms. Boyd, that we do a site visit. And I won't call out the 3 cases, but like I say, I was prepared to go look at them, because also seeing it, picture, video, and in person makes a big difference. And I realize this is 1,750 acres. It's not like going to a 100-acre site and being able to capture it all. So I wanted to say that, and I'm glad you mentioned the cost, $6,000 to $8,000, and that was a question that we had. But and I read some of the testimony that TOCE's lawyers had presented too, that they didn't like maybe the angle or the height or whatever. And my recommendation to TOCE is they can produce a video of their angle if they prefer that. Again, video is very, very helpful in lieu of getting in a van and riding around 1,750 acres. In fact, when I was talking with Ms. Boyd about it, I said, let's see if we can get a helicopter and put us all 7 commissioners in a helicopter, and maybe have to have 2 with all the other staff, and fly over the facility. Because this is a very important issue. And it's not just a video. It's much bigger than that. And I think we all wanted to give it the deserved attention that it deserves. So and as the vice chairman said, I have a different perspective on your request now than I did before coming in here. I'm not a lawyer, so I listen to our lawyers, and all this evidentiary evidence being presented is new to me, and I'm learning fast. But I do think is something that is the question is much clearer now to me. So enough said.
Thank you, Commissioner Britt.
Mr. Chair, may I chip in? Commissioner Henley here.
Commissioner Henley.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think I'm on the same page now with understanding the request differently than I did before this, before these oral arguments. And I think it's been said well enough for me, but I guess my concern would just be the ruling at. So our understanding was based on sort of the request that we received in writing, and my concern is just that the order that we issue as it's written be sort of adjusted potentially to clarify what we're actually approving here, or not. We're not. Does that make sense?
It does to me.
Are we talking about?
Mr. Cast.
I want to make sure I understand what Commissioner Henley was asking. Talking about what Sumter County is asking us to approve, or what we're
Correct.
Okay.
To the extent our interpretation was that we're asking for a sort of a pre-approval, so that we're not giving that in our approval if we were to approve it.
Got it. Thank you, Commissioner Henley.
Thank you, Commissioner Henley. Any further commissioner questions? Let me say, Mr. Bryan, from reading the motion, it was as if to me that you were asking for pre-approval. We certainly have drones in a lot of cases. We have people who prepare videos for demonstrative purposes only, and they may not be introduced or part of the evidence. We're not against you having a drone. We just can't pre-approve something we haven't seen, particularly when that something doesn't exist. That's our problem. We have no problem with you doing a drone. We just can't pre-approve it nor pre-approve the cost or anything else.
I think Mr. Belser would understand what I'm about to say. We're not asking for a ruling as a matter of evidentiary law. What we're asking for is a ruling as a matter of practice before this commission. Is that a fair way of saying it, Belton?
I think that's correct. And the real question is, since it's not presently part of pre-file testimony, it would come in as part of a summary of pre-file testimony. And we are simply asking for a ruling that if the drone footage is otherwise admissible, otherwise within the scope of the pre-file testimony, that the fact that it wasn't part of the pre-file testimony, but as an illustration of it, a graphic supplement to it, would not be fatal to our ability to attempt to get it in.
As a legal and practical matter, it would come in that way. We just can't approve something we hadn't seen.
Correct. Well, it could be, but our concern, Mr. Chairman, and I don't mean to jump in where I'm not wanted, but our concern was if we got to the summary and immediately as we started to put that on the screen, there was an objection. The commission said, sorry, it's not part of the testimony that's been pre-filed. We can't see it. If we know that in advance, we won't, the county won't produce it. And the county wanted to do it with a professional so that it would be fair and objective and not have, any potential that someone who, isn't a professional might try to distort it.
I'm sure we would see it before we made any sort of judgment on it, but as a legal and practical matter, there's no pre-approval, which was asked for in the motion.
Correct. Not as the ruling we're asking for is simply that as a matter of practice before the commission, this kind of graphical illustration of pre-file testimony is not per se ruled out.
Mr. Ziegler, we sit as judge and jury, and it makes it kind of tough, but this we have to decide as judges before we look at it as a jury. And it's not easy, but I think we all capable of separating that.
Understood. And the other possibility, I'm not sure how quickly we will
But
have to run.
what the motion said was that you were requesting admissibility of the actual drone footage prior to the hearing.
Well, if that's the case, then we were unclear in the motion. Because, our only thought was as illustration of pre-file testimony, and if it wasn't possible, all other things being, fully aligned with evidentiary law, if it wasn't possible to use it in that context, then we wouldn't make it.
Okay.
Chair Powers, one final question. TOCE's comments in their thorough reply, relative to filing deadlines regarding the site visit debate. Why didn't Sumter County suggest the aerial video during those discussions?
Be perfectly candid with you. Sometimes you just wake up in the morning and have an idea. And that idea didn't occur until later on in January.
I appreciate candor much more than bloviating, so thank you, sir.
I mean, if I could go back, I'd have done a whole lot of things differently. But
As would I.
there's no time to go back.
But we cannot, can we?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. No more questions.
I've got a sign over my back door that says, "Don't look back, you're not going that way." Anything further from the commission?
One more question, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Bryan and Mr. Ziegler. Is the question that you're raising seems to involve Commission Regulation 103-845C. Is that where we're looking to try to, or is that where you all are looking to try to get some clarification as to whether or not evidence that was not pre-filed, whether or not the commission will allow it to be admitted during the hearing?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you for confirming that for me.
All right, is anything further from the commission? And again, maybe I misunderstood the motion, but the motion says differently.
Chairman, we apologize, but that was not clear.
That's all right, that's all right. All right, thank you very much. We'll hear now from the respondents.
Mr. Josie will be speaking for us.
Thank you.
And good morning, Chair Powers, members of the commission. May it please the commission. My name is Robert Josie with the law firm Nelson Mullins on behalf of TOCE SC Solar 1 LLC, the applicant in this proceeding and the respondent to this motion. And you know what we're really faced here, I think the commission has nailed the evidentiary issues on this matter so far today. This request for admission of evidence is both late and early. It's a kind of a rare instance of this being late and early. It's late because it's clearly, as we've heard today, this morning, seen in the filings, you know, they're requesting admission, or they were at least up until 10 minutes ago requesting the admission of evidence as part of their pre-filed direct and pre-filed cert rebuttal testimony, which, you know, the deadlines for that testimony were months ago. And then they also missed the additional deadlines to provide this this option with the site visit discussion. And so I know that they have changed. They've apparently amended their motion this morning to state that now they're not asking for admission of the evidence. But I think what they're asking for now is basically an advisory opinion from the commission on whether or not they could possibly get evidence admitted into the record. And I think it's a dangerous precedent to set where the commission is providing any kind of legal opinion on whether or not evidence could be admitted into the record, particularly evidence, again, that hasn't been seen yet. And that gets me to my second point, that this request for admission of evidence, or request that the evidence be looked at, is premature because it hasn't been created yet. And as parties to this proceeding, particularly as the applicant with the burden of proof, we have not seen this evidence because it hasn't been created yet. So I can't make any kind of specific objections to that evidence on whether or not it's cumulative, prejudicial, whether or not it was created appropriately, whether or not it was, it's even showing the correct, I guess, facts that they claim it is showing. It's providing. And I know, we've talked about some drone footage that has been submitted in other cases. My guess is, I'm not sure which cases Commissioner Brett was referencing, but I'm guessing the applicant was the one who provided that drone video and not an intervener that is attempting to have this certificate denied. And so we've got some concerns there. Obviously, we've touched on the evidentiary concerns. Some other concerns TOCE Solar has are just, again, the idea of Sumter County flying, or whoever their third party is, flying a drone over private property in an effort, without consent of those landowners. And I know in their filings they've kind of stated that, it'll be, so far above the this project site that it'll be in, basically commercial airspace. I'd have concerns that at that point, what's the difference between that and a satellite view? Are they, following the FFA regulations appropriately? These are just concerns we have. And again, to Commissioner Brett's point, I would say that that if the commission feels that this is a necessary piece of evidence to make a determination on this certificate, that they require the applicant, who has the burden of proof in this case, to produce the video. And if the parties can't agree to that, then the commission should hire a third party, an independent third party themselves to create this video. But it would still raise some of the same evidentiary issues we've talked about today, because again, we haven't had a chance to review the evidence and determine whether or not it is sufficient, or what our specific objections would be. And so again, I'll just kind of quickly conclude by stating it's late. It's not part of the, they're asking for pre-filed testimony to be amended, which, this commission in excuse me, let me flip over here. I think that if they were to add additional information in their summary, as they're stating, as Ms. Rudman's summary at the hearing, that would be outside the scope of her pre-filed direct testimony. And the commission in docket number 2011-304-C, order number 2012-516. This is a complaint and petition of relief of Bell South Telecommunications. The commission found that when the witness's summary, evidentiary summary of testimony goes beyond the scope of her pre-filed direct testimony, that it should be stricken at that point. And the commission, believes that that's consistent with the evidentiary rules found in 103-845C. So I would, again, say that this should not be part of her pre-filed direct testimony or any kind of summary that she makes at the evidentiary hearing. And then second, again, it's premature because we haven't seen it yet. And this is similar to a commission case. Let me find the appropriate sites. And I have copies of these commission orders. If the commission would like to see them, I can pass them out. But the commission ruled against a similar request when ORS filed a motion for the admission of several depositions that were yet to be identified, and the standing hearing officer in order number 2018-103-H, which was in dockets numbers 2017-370E, 2017-207E, and 2017-305E, which I believe are the Dominion SCANA merger dockets. The hearing officer correctly determined that the depositions would be considered on a case-by-case basis, and the movement must produce the copies of the depositions for examination in order for a determination to be made on the admissibility. And so I think we have, commission precedent that states that, whether you consider it part of her pre-filed testimony. This would be outside the scope of that pre-filed testimony, and it's also premature to make a ruling on this evidence because nobody's seen it yet, and it would be difficult for the parties or the commission to make a determination. And again, I really believe that the change in Sumter County's request from their filings to what they're asking for today would be an advisory opinion from the commission. And so I'll stop there and see if you have any questions.
Chair
Thank you,
Powers.
Mr. Josie.
Chair Powers.
First, let me ask one thing. Mr. Josie, you don't have an objection if Sumter County won't spend the money and make a flyover with a drone, if they do it on their own without us being involved at all?
Yes, we have an objection to that. Again, we think if they're doing it, again, they do not have consent from the landowners to fly a drone over the project site.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't represent the landowners, do you?
We do not, but the applicant and
We've consulted with the landowners, and they're explicit that they don't want to do this.
All right, and you don't represent the FAA or anybody
No,
else?
sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
All right, well, thank you.
Chair Powers?
Mr. Chair, I think the Office of
Chair Powers,
Regulatory
can I
Staff.
add? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think counsel for Ms. Rainey, did you speak up or?
Yes, Chair Powers. I was going to ask if you could get Mr. Josie to repeat the 2011 case he cited in his oral arguments.
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right,
That's all I had, Mr. Chair. I heard Ms. Rainey.
all right.
I didn't want to leave her out.
Commissioner Brett?
Oh,
You go ahead.
okay. Thank you. The order number is 2012-516, and the docket is 2011-304-C. And again, I have copies available for everyone in the room if they'd like them.
Thank you.
And you have them for the commission as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I would like a copy.
Okay, absolutely. I can give it to you now, or we can wait until after.
Chair
Mr.
Powers.
Chairman, please make sure that he leaves copies for those of us that aren't present in the room as well.
Certainly, Commissioner Bells.
Thank you.
Chair Powers, can I just add one point to your question about TOCE's objection? I think if the standard operating procedure for the rare video that's done is that the applicant is doing the video. So part of our objection is any version of this that an intervener trying to defeat the application is going to do is going to be affected by that prejudice, right? So they're not going to produce an objective video that's going to be useful to the commission. It's going to be a complete attempt to stop this project from getting approved. So our view of this is if you really want a video done, the video should be done by a third party, ideally, that y'all hire, or alternative to that, we can do a video. But I think the best path forward is to let a third party do it if you really feel like you need a video. We don't think it's necessary.
Well, Mr. Adams, I think if TOCE produced a video, you would try and make it as favorable as you possibly could, would you not?
Yes, sir, we would, and that's why I suggested that the third party is the way to go.
Well, I mean, we can decide whether we think it's real or fake, or if it's some farmer standing in the field crying, or whatever they want to come up with. But I just don't quite understand why you would object for them to spend money if they wanted to, when we make no decision as to whether or not it's even admissible.
Right, and I think the objection is the point I just made about this is really appropriate for either the applicant or a third party. That's point one. And we are so late in the game here to throw in something the week before the hearing that is effectively just being put on the table for the commission 9 days before the hearing starts. And I don't think they could point to an example ever of an intervener being allowed to do a video in one of these cases. In fact, they'd be setting precedent for Sumter County itself, and every zoning hearing they have, every citizen ought to be able to do a video over the property of any applicant to Sumter County BOZA.
The way the wind's coming up, they won't make it today, I'm sure. Commissioner Brett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I go back to what Mr. Bryan said when Commissioner Caston asked him, why didn't you make the video? Didn't think of it. I didn't think of it either. In every one of these cases, I never thought of it. The 3 videos that came before, I think 2 were applicants that actually made the video. There's one, I'm not sure, and I have to go back and check. It could have been an intervener. But what I was going to also say here is that Sumter County says in their testimony, there is no such requirement and no permission is necessary for the drone operator to get permission from the landowners. FAA, they require, if you're a drone operator, whether it's a county or a company, you have to have an FAA license to fly. And particularly in Sumter, with Shaw Air Force Base being there and McIntyre not far away as well, I think you'd probably have to have a very qualified person doing it. And whether they work for the county or a private agency. My question's this, why doesn't TOCE produce a video themselves? Yeah, if you're saying here in your testimony that TOCE asserts that the aerial drone footage, instead of a ground level perspective, will ignore the mitigating effect of setbacks and vegetative buffers employed to enhance the compatibility with the surrounding area, TOCE argues that this will exaggerate or enhance the compatibility with the surrounding area. And they argue that this will, they exaggerate the purported impact of the project by presenting a bird's eye view. And this will confuse the issue of site compatibility and unfairly prejudice TOCE by minimizing the impact of its efforts to enhance and ensure compatibility with the surrounding area. My question again, I wish I'd thought about it when it first came up, and I'd have suggested to both of you. And for us, we're not asking for the project. Mr. Adams, when you say why doesn't the commission, go hire a third party? We're not asking for the project. Y'all are, and Sumter County is opposing it. So I think the burden does fall on these two parties. If you're going to produce a video, y'all do it. But again, if Sumter produces one that shows something's favorable to them, as the chairman said, if I was trying to sell a project, I'd make sure it produced it for us, and then let the 7 commissioners make the decision.
We actually have a video in the can that's done.
Good.
All right. So, but I will say, because of the late nature of this whole dispute, we'd rather not go down the path of having to produce and introduce and fight over those 2 videos and make that into a sideshow, because they're going to have the same objections to that we do to their video.
I don't think there's going to be any fight. Like I said earlier when I was making the comment, this is a very, very important issue. Not just the drone video, this whole project. And you can't undo what we do. So every bit of evidence, I think, is important in helping me, and I think the other 6 commissioners, make a good decision, and one that we can live with and sleep on. So glad to hear that.
If I could just respond to that, I would say, we, as Mr. Adams stated, we have a video. We haven't asked for admission into evidence now because it's not appropriate to ask for admission into evidence at this time. How we go about admitting that evidence, or if the commission wants to admit it, we can get there, at that time, at the appropriate time. I hesitate to say when the appropriate time would be because then I'd be giving legal advice to the opposing counsel.
Next Wednesday morning would be the appropriate time.
And so, again, I think, we're bound by the rules of evidence here. And at this point in time, trying to admit a video of our own right now would be, I'd have the same arguments against myself. And that's not what we're trying to do. So again, I think at this point in time, it would be inappropriate for the commission or to grant either what Sumter County has asked for in their filings or what they've asked for today. I think, therefore, I think, the commission should deny it at this time, deny their motion at this time.
Mr. Chairman, not to interject here, certainly don't want to put words in Commissioner Britt's mouth, and we're not up here to give advice, but we are here to get peaceful resolutions sometime. And if I'm hearing Commissioner Britt correctly, maybe, again, not here to provide advice, maybe it could be an independent third party, and instead of Commissioner Britt seemed hesitant that the commission should pay for it, maybe the 2 parties could split it. If we're talking about a maximum of $8,000, I'm just tossing it out there, Mr. Chairman.
We would have no objection to that. If a third party did it and we split the cost of it, we would not object to that.
Well, we're not a third party, and we
understand.
can't try your case for either one of you.
Yeah.
But you just mentioned that you have a video.
Yes, sir. I've never seen it. I just know it exists.
You have a video. Why would you not want them to have a video? It's kind of like when I was on the coastal council, somebody had a dot. They didn't want people next door to have a dot.
Right.
I mean, it's
Well, we're not planning to put our video in. So, I mean, we have a video, but it's sitting in a file back at the Austin, Texas office. We weren't proposing to put it into the record.
all right. Well, if they want to stick one in their file, I just don't see it.
Chair Powell,
Commissioner Cassidy.
I don't have a dog in that fight, y'all. I do have a question relative to, I guess, TOCE's argument under Rule 403 of South Carolina Rules of Evidence and 103, 846A. Among other things, we talk about a confusion of issues. And I've thought a lot about that, and I was just kind of curious, what issues in TOCE's view would it confuse? An aerial video.
Well, it's kind of tough to say right now because the video doesn't exist.
Right?
And
I'm sorry. I understand that, and I'm not trying to argue it. I understand. No one's seen it. I don't know what it is. But if you could fly over it, if you could say, hey,
Sure.
I've got this magic wand and we're going to fly over all this and look at it. And I'm not trying to be silly, and that does sound silly, so I shouldn't have said it. That said, I'm really trying to understand if everything was done on time, all things equal, everything was done on time, what issues would be confused?
I'll give you one example. Okay. So the Sumter County zoning ordinance talks about substantial harmony with the surrounding. Are you in substantial harmony, you the applicant, in substantial harmony with the surrounding area? And that visual look is a ground level visual look. That is not an aerial criteria analysis of how something looks from 500 feet in the air. So I think that all of this is premised on a misleading sort of supposition that somehow going 500 feet up in the air and taking a shot of this is more helpful than actually doing it from the ground. And frankly, this all sort of begs the question back to Commissioner Britt's suggestion of a tour is probably better than a video. If I had to sort of say, it would be the safer way to do this because there's less dispute about what's the vantage point from which we are in. And you can't edit a tour. You can edit the hell out of a video, right?
Well, along those lines, thinking in terms of, back before we had any of this stuff, we used to do topos, had to do cut and fills if we were putting in a road, doing a big project. I got pretty good at topos. But even the exhibits are an aerial view or picture of the site. Now, I can't really see necessarily. I mean, you really got to be good. You got to be experienced to really understand what all those little lines mean in a topo. And I suspect most people really don't know that because it's not what most people do. So the exhibits have an aerial view. Does that cause any more confusion or clarify anything more than
No, sir.
a video that would fly over the whole region?
Well, I think those are introduced basically as an explanatory note of kind of the overall outlay of the project. They're not meant to be there's no editing going on of what is being filmed and what is not being filmed to create an impression one way or the other. Just, it is what it is. It's a map, right? And so I think if you're editing and you have an editorial hand in producing a video that this then is going to be put into evidence, and someone was the maestro of that editing to make the project either look better or worse, that's a very different thing than a map on a page.
Well, final question, and I'll quit. What if there was no editing? What if you just send it up, send it over, come back, and it's just raw footage?
That'd be like you know, my son is a filmmaker. That's what he does in Los Angeles, and that would be like a jumble of unusable set of a ton of film that you wouldn't get anything out of. I think it needs to we either need to do a site visit or we need to do a video by a third party. Those are the best two options.
Since you breached the subject of site visit,
Yes, sir.
and you know, I don't know if it's the appropriate place to bring it up, but you know, there's some. What is? Nah, I think I'll just wait until the hearing to ask that. I have no more questions. Thank you.
All right.
Commissioner Brett,
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Henley.
Yeah, just you know, I don't know that how the site visit aids the timeline, for one, and two, just note, you know, I think in the spirit of Commissioner Britt's comment of, you know, TOCE can produce their own, and you know, you guys said you already have one. I would just offer it. It doesn't necessarily have to be the aerial perspective. It could. We're saying you could submit your own if you think there's a better angle.
In fact, ours, I think, is a ground level angle. I'm pretty sure. I haven't seen it, but my understanding is that it's not an aerial angle. It's a riding by the road angle, so you can sort of see what the buffers are, and that's the real world view of what this is going to look like to any neighbor of the project driving by the project, not flying over at 500 feet.
So,
Go ahead.
So I just go back to, I guess I don't know what the time issue is then. If you're both able to submit a video for our consideration, I'll just leave it there.
If I could respond to that again, the timing issue, as I see it, is that it's just not an appropriate time to present either one of these videos into evidence, and then have the correct, you know, have specific objections on whether or not they should be admitted and whether or not the commission should admit them, make that determination. Right now is not the appropriate time to do that. Should that time arise during the evidentiary hearing, then we can have that discussion. But today is not the day, when nobody's seen any videos of anything, for the commission to state that those either should or shouldn't be admitted into evidence. I would say they shouldn't be admitted into evidence right now, and that, you know, we can't, again, make any kind of objections to the specific evidence.
Any further commissioner questions?
Just
at this
one.
time?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Vice Chair.
Mr. Josie, Mr. Adams,
Yes, sir.
good morning.
Yes, sir.
I don't have any questions for you because your points have been fairly clear to me. As it relates to the video, the only video you all are in support of is one rendered by a third party.
Yes, sir.
All right. Evidentiary issues aside, because I understand all the evidence. I understand it. Evidentiary arguments, I should say. Mr. Josie, do you believe that TOCE Solar is a public utility?
No.
Okay. So, in your opinion, would the commission's interpretation of Commission Regulation 103-45C impact whether or not Sumter should be allowed to offer this drone video and evidence if it's not since it's not pre-filed?
Just so I'm following you, you're asking whether or not South Carolina Regulatory Code 103-845C would allow them to enter in this evidence because TOCE Solar is not a public utility?
Would they be precluded from doing so since it's not pre-filed?
It would be in my opinion, what our argument is here today is that yes, right now it would be precluded from being filed. Had they filed it previously, we may have objections to what the video looked like, how it displays information on the site, but we wouldn't have an objection to the fact that it was filed, and we could at least have that conversation at that time. Again, their pre-filed initial testimony deadline and the pre-filed rebuttal testimony deadline were months ago. And so my argument would be that at this point in time, this is a late exhibit and shouldn't be admitted on that basis.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, Mr. Chair, that's all I have.
All right. One suggestion, I mean, there's been something thrown out there about a third party and having a conversation. Why don't we take a break until 11:20, and then we'll come back, let Mr. Bryan respond, and anything from ORS at that time?
Before we take a break, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
can I
sir.
throw one thing out? Don't want to forget Mr. Adams' suggestion. I want to let him know that the plan is still in place. I mean, I want to do a site visit and invite the commissioners under Act 41. It gives us the ability to do it. I know Ms. Boyd's had at least 3 workshops on what the site visits would entail. So that is still the plan. After the 25th and 26th hearings, I want to do it immediately after that.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, if y'all want to have a conversation about a third party, feel free. We're going to come back at 11:20.
Thank you.
Thank
We're
you,
in
Mr. Chairman.
recess.
Go to the restroom.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning again. We are back on the record on docket number 2025-250E. 253E, present in the hearing room is Commissioner Britt, Commissioner Caston, Commissioner Whitfield, Vice Chair Williams. I am Chair Powers. Joining us virtually is Commissioner Belser and Commissioner Henley. We took a short recess. I don't know whether there's any discussion or not, or whether it's...
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, we talked to ORS, Sumter and TOCE talked to ORS. They are not willing to do it as a third party. Sumter and TOCE would be comfortable, though, separately, simply splitting the cost of a video and having the commission staff oversee. I know you might not want to do that, but that's probably the best that we could come up with, is leave ORS out of it and have TOCE and Sumter split the cost of a video, that the commission staff would hire somebody to do the video. Now, we all would want to review the video before it's actually...
Well, commission staff would have nothing to do with it. That's between the two of you. We would not be involved.
Right. Well, that's the best that we could come up with.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, could we hear from ORS?
Excuse me?
The thought would have been that the commission would hire the drone operator as an expert. We haven't had a chance to go back and look at the statutes, but we understand there are statutes which allow that in some circumstances. And if that applied, we would suggest doing it that way, with the cost being absorbed by the two parties.
And we think it's allowed under the statutory provisions that you could do it, but obviously that's not our decision, right?
Chair Powers, I think ORS wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, let me hear from ORS.
Thank you, Chair Powers. ORS has pre-filed its testimony in this matter, and in its testimony, ORS took no position on the preemption issue and deferred to the commission. This issue with the drone footage and the use thereof, I believe, ORS believes fits squarely in that issue before the commission, and therefore ORS thinks it's not appropriate for ORS to be to offer video or consult a videography for such evidence that is a dispute between Sumter County and TOCE Solar.
All right. And do you have any position about how the commission could be possibly involved in this?
Sorry, ORS can't offer legal advice on that point either.
All right. Well, I just know under Act 41 that ORS has an additional mediation type role now in that situation. I just wondered if ORS, in looking at a possible settlement of just this issue, could not find a drone operator that suited both parties.
Chair Powers, I do hear your point about settlement negotiations. We're not currently in an active settlement discussion. Anything further, I would have to consult my client, though.
Okay. All right.
Chairman.
Well, Vice Chair, did you have?
Chair Powers, I think.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ziegler.
Belcher, Mr. Ziegler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just in response to what we've heard, Sumter County brought this idea before you in complete good faith. They wanted to find a way to visually present an objective and unbiased view of what the property looked like if seen from the best vantage point, which is from the air. There's no attempt to create some prejudice, to do anything other than do what any good governmental entity should do, which is, remember, Sumter County is they're not in the solar business. They're not parties that have any competitive interest here. They want to be sure that the commission, as another government body, makes an informed decision on this point. And in light of the concerns about doing a site visit and the obvious interest that the commission had in seeing what the site looked like, they thought this was a reasonable way to do it. They looked at Ms. Rudman's testimony, and she testifies very specifically about issues of topography and size and scope and layout. Her testimony is based on the maps that we've been looking at today, which were presented by TOCE, which again show the size, the layout, and those things. And we think that putting a drone video of this sort into her summary is appropriate because it is a graphic illustration of what she talks about orally. It is not adding new issues. It's not creating new issues. We further believe that the any evidentiary challenges to that testimony that relate to its substance would be preserved. The only thing we're saying is because it's coming in as a graphical illustration of what's already in pre-file testimony, it wouldn't be excluded on that basis. So that's in summary where we are. We think it would be very helpful. We think it would be very useful and very appropriate to allow Ms. Rudman to show that video as a graphical expression of what's said in her testimony. There would not be any narration programmed into the video. We wouldn't have flashing lights or any sort of funny business. It would just be an aerial view of the property. That's all we're asking for, is to understand that because it's used as a graphical illustration of existing testimony, it would generally be admissible, all other things being equal and all other objections being preserved. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, only thing we have in front of us today is the motion that was filed. I don't think the commission, if the commission were to pick a person to do this filming with the drone, then we would have somehow or another gotten involved in the trial of the case. We've got somebody, you've got somebody now who's willing to pay for half of it. I don't see why y'all couldn't agree on somebody and not put us in that position. Is there any way you can do that, Mr. Adams or Mr. Ziegler?
I
mean, there's
if
I don't know what there are as far as how many people are out there that do this, but it seems to me that any of them are going to make an independent film if they're doing it for both of you rather than one of you.
I mean, perhaps maybe the order of consideration here is ORS they've got to go back and talk to their client about whether or not they'd be willing to play that role, and that would be the best solution.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to cut you off, Mr. Adams. I'm very glad we had the oral arguments. I understand a whole lot more about this matter now than I did before. With where we are now, I'm confused as to what role, whether it's ORS or the commission, what exactly would you want the commission or ORS to do as it relates to the video? Because in my mind, what I see is two professional groups coming together to outline what their expectations are for the drone footage. Those expectations are then executed by the producer, if you will, and then the video is produced at the hearing. Is that too simple?
Mr. Williams, the concern, we've been here for an hour and a half arguing over just the idea whether the drone footage should happen. Our concern is that if you said, okay, you two parties have to agree on how that'll be done, it may never get done. The possibilities for, Sumter's plan all along has been just to tell the guy that they're hiring, this professional drone guy, give us an objective, reasonable view of this property. And that's all we want to do. And we want to show it to TOCE, and if they have a problem with that being the case, and they're welcome to raise it any way they can, evidentiary objections otherwise. But I'm afraid if you ask us to get together to do that, it just won't happen.
I would agree with that. I mean, it seems to me the options are either commission staff oversees someone, ORS oversees someone. Those are, or we don't do it. Basically, those are the. I don't think it's fair, or both parties put in a video, which at this late date does not sound ideal to me, because we're both gonna object to the other person's video.
Why don't you agree not to object?
Mr. Chairman,
You can't do that without
this is
seeing it.
Commissioner.
Well,
Mr. Bell,
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Bells.
let me just say, the commission staff is not going to have anything to do with overseeing or selecting a videographer. It is not appropriate for our commission staff to be put in that position. Let me just say that right there. That's this commissioner's opinion. So that should be off the table, in my opinion.
I don't think we can be involved.
Chair Powers, with the greatest respect for everyone that's here, I share Commissioner Belcher's concern too. So, what you guys don't do is fine. I would propose, unless someone, Miss Rainey, before I say anything further, your light's on. Would you like to say something?
No, I just wanted to be very clear on the record. ORA's position is that it is inappropriate for ORA's to consult a videographer. That's the issue in which we've not undertaken previously. And the issue that is at hand is the preemption issue that ORAS in its own testimony deferred to the Commission's consideration and provided no opinion in its testimony on that issue. For those reasons, ORAS feels it's inappropriate for us to get involved in this matter. Thank you.
All right, and with that said, Chairman Powers, you know, what the parties choose to bring to the hearing, I think that's next Wednesday, whenever it is. What y'all choose to do then, I guess we'll know when we get there. In the meantime, I propose a motion if we're ready to do that.
Which, unless there's some reply to the argument from Mr. Bryan and Mr. Ziegler, did you want to offer a reply?
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
All right, anything from ORS further?
Nothing from ORS.
All right.
No, sir. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Cassidy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Powers and Commissioners. I move that the Commission deny Sumter County's motion as filed. I so move.
All right, haven't heard the motion. Is any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Vice Chair.
So, again, we learned a lot with the oral arguments. And I think that the filing, for whatever the reason, the filing was filed and it was read the way it was read, and it is what it is, and so we're here at this point. But hopefully questions were asked and answered that help everyone involved understand, I guess, what the real issue is, as opposed to what maybe we thought the issue was. And so I don't want to think that that this motion, being the motion that Commissioner Caston just made, I think it's fair to say is not necessarily addressing the other issues that were raised in the oral arguments, because there are a lot of other issues raised. The motion that Commissioner Caston just made is in direct response to the motion that was filed. So hopefully, I mean, that is understood.
That is correct, Vice Chair.
And Commissioner Casson, that's not discouraging any party from doing whatever they want.
Absolutely not. I'm gonna show up for the hearing, and you guys will present the case.
All right. Is there any further discussion? Then we'll proceed to a roll call vote, beginning with Commissioner Caston.
Aye.
Commissioner Britt.
Aye.
Commissioner Belser.
Aye.
Commissioner Henley.
Aye.
Commissioner Whitfield.
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams.
Aye.
And I vote aye. The motion as filed is denied. Then I guess at this point, best wishes, and I hope that some solution can be reached. But as far as the motion that was scheduled for today, oral arguments, then this matter is concluded.
Mr. Chair, before we close, I owe Mr. Adams an apology. You made a statement, and it just totally caught me off guard, and I didn't realize my microphone was on, and I laughed out loud. But when you said you have a video, but you haven't seen it, I thought about a conversation I had with someone who said they believe in aliens, even though they've never seen them. It just took me back there.
I'm glad of being thought of in that same vein. No worries. Thank you, sir.
All right.
And
Thank
I'll
you
just-
all. Have a,
Mr. Chair, I think
thank you.
Mr.
One other thing I do have, I mean, you've already ruled on the motion, but I do have those cases that I will pass out. as
Well,
soon
we
as we're
want
done.
them, and our attorney will get them from you.
Great.
Thank you very much. Everyone be safe in this weather. We are adjourned.